for kindly accepting our invitation.
Okay, thank you very much, Yavuz. I prepare a presentation. I can share it. Share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes,
okay.
we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Yes, our topic is about North African diplomacy, and Yavuz introduced me, so I want to start the presentation. First of all, I want to talking about my presentation plan. My presentation firstly is an introduction about the geopolitics of the North African countries, and then other parts about North African countries in the international order. It's two main phenomena. First phenomenon is the Western and Eastern actors' policy toward the North African countries. In this context, I would like to three main hot points. First is Western Sahara crisis, and second is Libyan crisis, and third is Nile dispute. And second phenomenon is migration from Africa to European Union, or North African countries to European Union. The North African states, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan. And these states occupy an island and are therefore preoccupied above all by relations among themselves. Torn between pressures to work together community and to distinguish themselves from each other. And they are caught up with the need to develop a sense of rank and relation among themselves and to carry their competition into the power vacuum of the poorer states that surrounded them, And although Tunisia and Libya may seek to achieve relations on the model of integration, and Algeria may prefer a pattern of a central state dominance, the result is a checkerboard pattern of the competition of limited rivalries preferred by Morocco but played by all. Relations with the Arab and African worlds are determined by the North African states' bids for leadership. They need for support on security issues and their extension of intra-Maghrebi or intra-North African relations onto the two wider fields. The same intra-Maghrebi purposes guided North African states' relations with Europe, especially, France, and also with the US, United States, China, and Russia. North Africa is an island. Yes, it's a surrounded by the Atlantic and Mediterranean on the west, north and east, Red Sea, and by an even broader sea of sand, the Sahara, on the south. Both of these barriers are boundaries in depth, not fully isolating, but requiring special efforts to cross, and separating the separating the islanders from the people and countries on the other sides. This means that North Africans are thrown together, and their foreign policies, above all, concern their relations with each other. It also means that differentiation and integration as spatially intimate type of conflict and cooperation are the two major themes of their intra-island relations, maybe. But for all their insular quality, the North African states are not a world apart. They are parts of the world, parts of other worlds, and therefore live within circles of relations. Some circles, such as the central core of intra-Maghrebi relations, involve their relations with each other and demonstrate differentiation and integration within the various communities of identity of which the states are members. Also, North African states are part of Africa, even though the content is frequently thought of only as black south of Sahara, and the problem of both differentiation and integration thereby posed again. In relation to both of these circles, the North African states are outposts away from the core and closest to Western developed world. Membership in this circle seems to suggest that relations with other worlds are no longer relations with the Arab and African worlds. However, with the other, as the North Africans referred to their colonizers before independence. The next circle concerns relations with Europe, including the French metropoles, maybe, yet in a shrinking world. It's no longer possible to consider Europe as totally extraneous to North Africa. As the continent of the colonizer, Europe has made itself part of the Maghreb itself. Even if that part creates internal conflict and animosity, more materially, both Europe and North Africa are part of the Mediterranean world. Another case of a boundary in depth integrates as well as differentiates those that it divides. Finally, North African states necessarily have relations with the great powers, which only impinge in a minor fashion on the identity of the region. Relations with the great powers, which only impinge in a minor fashion on the identity of the region, and they are obviously imbalanced too, since relations do not fall under the Western North Atlantic Alliance. It also means that North Africa shares the panoply of Western values, and that its dominant economic relations are with developed Western nations. When we look at the North African countries in the international order, firstly, we can talking about the Western Sahara crisis. The Western Sahara crisis emerged with the self-determination demand of the Polisario front in the process following the withdrawal of Spain from these lands in 1975. Until last year, Spain followed a policy of abstention. However, due to Morocco's use of the immigration card, it was seen that Spain gave up this decision and supported Morocco. We will also consider this issue in the context of phenomena of migration. In addition, the USA supported Morocco in the Western issue in Trump administration on Trump era in 2020. It can be said that Morocco has established close relation with European countries, especially Israel, on the background of Western actors' support for Morocco in recent years. On the other hand, Morocco also has problems with its neighbor, Algeria, such as Algeria, especially in the Western Sahara crisis, while Morocco accuses Algeria of supporting the Polisario, Algeria accuses Morocco of inciting the Kabil Emazi to demand independence against the Algerian government. In fact, the root of this problem is the increasing tension between the West and the East in the international system. As a matter of fact, Algeria has been establishing close relations with Russia and China in recent years, And second is Libyan crisis. With the fall of the Gaddafi administration in 2011 in Libya, this country was dragged into a relentless civil war. Currently, there is a two-part structure in this country. The first of these is the government of national accord based in Tripoli and, recognized by the United Nations. The second is Benghazi, led by Khalifa Haftar, who attempted to stage a coup in the country with the so-called Operation Pride in 2014. The war between the parties has reached a dead end with the contribution of international actors' interventions. Among these actors, such as the USA, Russia, France, maybe UAE, and Saudi Arabia, support to Haftar. And Turkey, on the other hand, Turkey has economic and military agreements with the government of national accord, which is, recognized by the United Nations. And third hot points is Nile dispute in the North African diplomacy. Nile dispute of sharing the waters of the Nile has been going on for about 11 years between the Ethiopia, Egypt, and the Sudan. And it's based on Ethiopia's construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Despite the 11 years of negotiations between the three countries, no results could be obtained. In this regard, Sudan was hesitant until the coup took place against the Omar al-Bashir administration. But for the last 3 years, Sudan has been acting close to Egyptian policies. In this context, mediation meetings with the African Union continue. In the Trump era, the US tried to mediate, but it was unsuccessful. As the US withdrew from the mediation table, and Trump stated that Egypt may have the right to shut down Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam with a missile. Currently, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance...
Moi, je dis ça. Donc, nous, on parle de la majorité des personnes. Moi, je refuse.
Alturia is participant, I think is from Senegal.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love Senegal. Okay. Currently, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam needs 60 billion cubic meters of water. The Blue Nile's flow to Egypt is also almost 8 billion cubic meters per year. That's why Egypt demands that Ethiopia fill the dam in at least 11 years, but Ethiopia wants to fill it in almost 5 years, or 3 or 5 years, and it fill about Ethiopia 16 billion cubic meters in the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And also Ethiopia will fill the dam in July 2022. Meanwhile, Sudan demanded the establishment of a four-way mediation desk, namely the UN, United Nations, African Union, the United States, and the European Union. But neither Ethiopia nor Egypt agreed it. And also we can look at the second phenomena is migration. The phenomena of migration is one of the most important agenda items of the international community today. As in every period of history, in a wide geography from Marrakesh to Bangladesh. In today's world, especially in the period following the 1990s, when the rivalry between the USA and the USSR ended, the emergence of identity politics in the world system causes this concept to be discussed much more because of the conflicts that occur beyond migration, climate, and economic problems, and the effects of, COVID-19 epidemic. In this context, millions of people in Africa are forced to migrate due to economic problems and conflicts spreading across the borders from their own countries or neighboring states. It can be said that the conflict zones that triggered migration in Africa are the interactions in the Sahel, the Sudan, the South Sudan, and Somalia, and Central African Republic, and Mozambique, which is emerged at the beginning of the 21st century and whose influence continues today. In addition to these chronic insecurities, there are migration trends triggered by environmental crises such as food shortage, drought, and floods, in many parts of the continent, and the number of people in urgent need of humanitarian assistance is increasing. Refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants follow three main roads in migration from Africa to Europe. The first of these is the Central Mediterranean route, which covers Italy via Libya and Tunisia. The second route is the Western Mediterranean route, which is refers to Spain via Algeria and Morocco. The third is the Atlantic route. Third is Atlantic route, also known as West African route. This route, Atlantic route, refers to transition from Morocco, Western Sahara, Mauritania, Senegal, and Gambia to the Canarian Islands of Spain. The use of these roads has changed over time according to measures taken. While the Central Mediterranean route to Italy was on the rise until 2016, the Western Mediterranean route started to rise in 2018. However, with the increasing political and economic instability in Tunisia in 2020, the Central Mediterranean route and the Atlantic route entered an increasing trend with the increase in interactions with the interactions in West African countries. In addition, this trend continued in 2021 and 2022. In the scope of this, we can talking about the Central Mediterranean route, the increasing trend of migration on the Central Mediterranean route has been striking in recent years, and Libya, where there has been a civil war for many years, has come to the fore, while the internal problems in Tunisia, especially in recent years, have taken precedence over Libya. In the background of this trend, there are economic problems caused by the conditions of COVID-19 outbreak, increasing protest demonstration in the country as a result of economic downturn, caused a political crisis with Tunisian President Kais Said's dismissal of Prime Minister Hisham Meshishi and dissolution of the assembly on July 25, 2021. And this situation increased the migration trend in 2020. In addition, the European Union, in order to prevent the increasing migration from North Africa to Europe, at the immigrant conference held in Lisbon in May 2021, rejected the proposal of the Tunisian Prime Minister Hisham Meshishi to establish a removal center in Tunisia to accept the immigrants returning from Europe. The most represented nationalities on this road in the first half of 2021 were Tunisians with 28%, followed by Bangladeshis, Egyptians, Ivorians, Iranians, Guineans, Eritreans, Sudanese, and Moroccans with 13%. And second route is a Western Mediterranean route. There has been an been an increase in immigration on the Western Mediterranean roads extending to Spain via Algeria and Morocco. It's reported that more than 10,000 Algerian refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants reached Spain via this road in the first half of 2021, alone 2021. It's stated here that the main motivations of the people who migrate are the increasing human rights violation and economic problems. In an environment where the Moroccan border police deliberately loosened border controls due to the immigration from Morocco to Spain, especially due to Spain's acceptance of the leader of the Polisario Front, Ibrahim Gali, for the COVID-19 treatment. In this period, more than 9,000 refugees crossed into the Spanish state of Ceuta. Therefore, it's understood that Morocco used the immigration card against Spain. In addition, despite the normalization of Spain's relation with Morocco in May, a major migrant crisis was experienced in the state of Melilla last week. In this incident, both the Spanish and Moroccan police took drastic measures against the immigrants. Third road is Atlantic Road. The length of the Atlantic Road, which covers the journey from Spain to Canarian Islands, varies between 100 and 1,400 kilometers. And it's depending on the country of embarkation. Therefore, the exit countries of this road are Morocco, Western Sahara, Mauritania and Gambia, and Senegal. After 6,000 people lost their lives in the Caicos crisis on this road in 2006. Although the migration flow decreased from 30,000 to 32,000, it increased again with 23,000 people in 2020. However, with the increase in the number of immigration on this road, the death rates also increased. 849 deaths were experienced in 2020, and this trend continued to currently, 2021 and 2022. Between January and October of 2021, there were approximately 13,000 immigration flows, and 785 of them died on the way. It can be said that one of the reasons for increasing number of immigration on this road in recent years is the unemployment environment created by the economic crisis in the countries as a result of COVID-19 epidemic and the increase in terrorist incidents in the Sahel, conclusion. In my opinion, there are three main lines of crisis that challenge North African countries in international and regional diplomacy. First is Western Sahara, second is Libya, third is Nile. The phenomenon of migration is outside the lines of internal crisis because it challenged European countries rather than North Africa, and the solution to the migration crisis is again the hands of the European countries to abandon neo-colonial policies in Africa. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm checking my mic and it sees it's operating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, we have a guest now in my house. Do you have a question? Maybe one, please. Yes.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you very much to our honorable speaker, Mr. Kaan Davicioglu. I don't know if I am pronouncing right or wrong, but it was a wonderful presentation, and you had discussed in a very detail about the North African diplomacy. And I mean, it was very wonderful. You discussed each and everything, and you compare it with what's going on currently. So I have basically, I have two questions. First, I would like to introduce, I am Musagar Tanoli. I joined through my platform's account, Youth Diplomacy Forum. So I am Musagar Tanoli, and I am founding president of the Youth Diplomacy Forum. So my question is basically about the Libyan crisis and then the migrant crisis, which you also discussed, that the migrant crisis that is going on between Spain and Morocco. So those people who want to flee through Morocco and they want to go to Europe. So now they are, most of the people, they lost their lives, and mostly they are injured. When they are coming on the Moroccan side, they are beaten by the Moroccan military. And when they go to the Spanish side, they are beaten by the Spanish side. So what they do? So my question is that if we see the crisis that is going on, so do you see that there is a role of United Nations, or specifically, there are many organizations that are working for migrants. There are many international organizations. So what is their role? Are they playing their role in this crisis? And secondly, you discussed about Libya. When we talk about Libyan crisis, currently in Libya, there are, I think, two governments. Most prominently, there are two governments. One is recognized by the United Nations, and another one is the government of Khalifa Haftar. So, I mean, there are consultations and negotiations going on, led by the United Nations, the upcoming Libyan election. So how do you see that Libyan election that is going to be held very soon? If, there is a compromise or negotiation between the Khalifa Haftar and the UN recognized government. So what will be the future of that? And my second question is about the migrant crisis going on between the Spain and Morocco. And thank you very much again. And it was a very wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much. Actually, the phenomenon of the migration about international organization held meetings, and last year in Lisbon for Tunisia, and also last week is Melilla. In Melilla is a migration crisis, and we hope to take initiatives, international organizations. I'm following this, but I hope everything is going well. Yeah. And second question is about Libya. Libya crisis is a very tough question, actually. And in these times, United Nations and other international actors held by a negotiations table all the Libyan sides, but in the Libyan sides is not second part. Actually, it's a fourth part, maybe 5 parts. It's you know, Trablus is a GNA, Government of National Accords, and also in Misrata, Akila Salih and what was the name of him? Yavuz.
In Misrata, there is Fethi Basha and
Yeah, Fethi Basha. And also between Fethi Basha and Khalifa Haftar's relations very close. And his relations close to France and other actors. And also he want to take relations with Turkey. So Libyan sides very tough actually in these times. We are following it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Samsor, for your question, Sultan, for your answer. Well, I guess we haven't seen any further hands for it. Well, if I may, and if there's no further contention, we may end up here. Well, I guess no. Okay, then, no more reactions. So thank you very much again, Mr. Khan, for your kind acceptance, and hope to see you soon in our future endeavors. And please take care. And esteemed participants, tomorrow at the same time, we're going to hold our last session about Palestine-Israeli conflict. I hope to see you there soon. Thank you very much again, and take care, please.